Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and while the first wave of IDW Generations Deluxes got a bit sneaky to include an Optimus Prime, there was no sleight of hand in adding an on-topic Megatron to the lineup. He's the Space Bridge-capable upgrade that the Decepticon leader received during the pre-Chaos comic run, a design that I and many others had hoped to see in toy form for quite some time. And now we did. So I guess we have to figure out something else to do with our lives. The Emperor of Destruction's shockwave-built body transforms into a proper wedge-like stealth bomber. It's a wide and slim build with plenty of paneling and vent work all over the topside surface. Things are pretty clean down below too, although you do have to ignore the mega head that's rather plainly in view, if also nicely recessed. Megatron's coloration is pretty simple and plain to see, but the big talking point for me is the sparkle in the semi-black plastic. And what's really crazy is that a practically identical finish was painted onto the clear purple plastic parts that are visible in this mode. I'm not sure how that was done, but I am sad to report that a couple flakes of it have already fallen off. Aside from the flip-down front wheel of the landing gear, Megatron's bomber mode is otherwise built for waving around and making whoosh noises. You can plug weapons into the 5mm holes up top, but otherwise there's only one thing left to do in this form. Okay, two things left to do. Full disclosure, this transformation kicks off with ditching the outer wing wedges. Bummer. Anyway, Megatron's arms and legs swing out and unfurl fairly predictably. Things do get cool in terms of his torso formation. A lot of things half expand from their compressed state and lock together in a unique series of angles that shirk simple perpendicularity to create a very badass silhouette. There's also a weird series of panels that fold out but don't lock, to imply a beefier bot mode than what we've actually got on hand. Finally, the parts-formed wing bits combine and use a neat barrel slide to extend into Megatron's fusion cannon. Stealth comic book Megals is looking fine. He cuts an imposing shadow and stature, with a lot of little visual tricks to try and further bulk him out, mostly by uncompressing and suspending chunks of his body slightly apart. The basic color layout is alright, but damn if I don't miss all the copious purple panel lining he had in the comic artwork. At least it's all sculpted in, so I guess bust out them Gundam pens. There is some purple light piping, but due to both the plastic's opacity and the sticky-uppy thing behind his head, it's hard to activate. Also, if you look at Megatron from behind, a lot of his illusions of mass totally crumble, especially in the legs. There is, like, literally no back panel to these legs. The fusion cannon can be mounted on either arm, but I have found the connection to be a bit loose on mine. I'll need to make a pledge to thicken up its peg. Oh. Yeah, it's been a couple years, decades even, and I guess that at this point ball-jointed necks on Transformers shouldn't make me feel so good, but they still make me feel so good. You can turn his head as well, but his head's kind of smooth and dome-like, and it's tricky to get a grip on it to get it swiveling left and right. It's finagleable, but on mine at least, the ball joint is also rather tight, and you kind of have to wiggle it around to get him looking around, so just leave him alone for now. Now, I am talking all about how much I'm happy about his neck. His waist is no joint. This is in part, I guess, because the transformation involves like a whole bunch of accordioned stuff, but I feel like there's a natural cut across here that could have been a waist joint. His shoulders are ball joints, and due to transformation, if you so choose, they can also do this. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but hey. There's a cut in the top to allow for full outwards rotation. There is a bicep swivel, nice tight mushroom peg bicep swivel, super tight pin disc elbow joint. You can go floopy wrist if you so choose. I don't know why you would. His arm cannon, the fusion cannon, kind of a weak connection. It's actually kind of tight here, and it gets looser as it goes in, and it just ends up kind of easily flopping around, and that's a bummer. You know what else easily flops, though? He's got ball-jointed hips, much like his ball-jointed shoulders. There's a cut in the top, so as you can do that. However, if we just give him a quick little shake, a lot of his jointage is a little bit floopsy. Like, I'll put these up here and shake him up. Oh, there goes his fusion cannon. His shoulders are kind of floopsy. His hips are not as, but still somewhat floopsy. He's a floopsy Megatron when it comes to his construction, and his construction has been very different for a whole lot of people. Mine actually is pretty well built compared to what a couple friends of mine got, although it still seems like the majority of these are overall fine. However, I'd go in expecting to deal with something weird. In the case of mine, it's floopy ball joints. He does have a thigh swivel, another mushroom peg one. It's way down the thigh, right by the knee. There's a knee hinge. This is a little bit looser than the elbows. The elbows are what I wish everything was like. And his ankles can, thanks to transformation, do this thing. Which is technically an ankle tilt, just not in the direction any of you guys really want. They're sculpted in a sort of akimbo stance, which I do appreciate. And, yeah, this guy is not terrible to pose. It's just more so his tolerances make posing him sometimes a bit of a chore as you're picking up his cannon and you're sticking it back on his arm and thinking, oh, I'm going to pose Megatron like he's pointing his gun somewhere. And then you do. Oh, I can't get his head to twist all that well. I'm finagling with that, and there goes his... Oh, no. This is solvable, FYI. And maybe I should on camera solve it, in this case, in another video. But yeah, not bad posability, just kind of iffy construction on this one. Day one of my ownership of this toy was mostly disappointment. Well, there was a bit of happiness in that I seemed to have a decently built Megatron, devoid of stress marks or cracking bits, and it wasn't the hollowness of the torso and legs that brought him down so much as the rickety feel of the joints and overall build quality. And while the sparkly plastic is cool, it looks a few shades too bright on old Mega Mush. In general, he's a toy that keeps missing a lot of my key marks by just a few degrees. But as time went on, I did find an appreciation for a number of things. His transformation is pretty great, the optical illusions of mass inflation are rather clever as long as you're looking at them from the right direction, and both his modes look on the mark from their primary viewing angles. Generations Megatron is a good piece of core design, lacking more so in his final fit and finish than anything else. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and while we've talked about the IDW Emperor of Destruction, sometime, ladies and gentlemen, let's misete the manga no Hakai Taite Wagatomo Tachi.